Okay, we're going to talk about yard truck driving this time, but first we're going to talk about the events of me leading to the decision that I wanted to drive a yard truck in the first place, because truth be told, like driving a school bus, it was never necessarily on the top of my list of jobs I'd like to pursue. However, it had been 2 years since the incidents appeared on my CDL record that made it impossible for me to find a job as a truck driver, and I figured even if I can't find a job with a larger company, perhaps a yard truck company might hire me. So I decided to apply. But the reason I decided to apply for this job in the first place was because I wasn't making that much money in the warehouse I had worked at. I made $12 per hour at that time. However, the main problem with this warehouse is they pay you a lot of money during the Christmas season due to there being a lot of work available and you working a lot of overtime. But as soon as January comes, the amount of money you make starts decreasing rapidly. The week before I decided to leave that warehouse, I had only made $12 for that entire week. Because I only make $12 an hour and they only called me to work for 1 hour out of that entire week. Because there was so little amount of people ordering things at that time. Usually at this time, I get laid off and spend the next 3 months looking for another job at some other warehouse. But in this case, they didn't necessarily lay me off. They just sent me home and told me not to come back until they called me again. Which, in this case, was starting to happen less often. And it was starting to get to the point where I was worried that eventually they were never going to call me back again, so I had to leave that company. So, I saw a job opening for a yard truck driver somewhere near Interstate 80, and I decided to apply for it. And I got the job after doing a test drive in the yard. What happened is the person picked up a trailer, drove it around the yard, then brought it back to the place where he picked it up from. And then he said, if you can do exactly what I just did, you get the job. So I did that, and I ended up getting the job. You know, it's funny, they say after being out of the truck for so long, you forget a few things, but I obviously still remembered how to back up a trailer, because I was able to get that job as a result. The shift started at 3 in the afternoon and lasted until 11 p.m. At first it didn't go so well because I was having trouble backing the trailers up. You see, it had been 2 years since the last time I'd driven a truck. A lot of the visual cues I used to look for when backing up a trailer I had forgotten and basically had to relearn. At first I thought I was going to lose my job because of that, but they understood and they gave me an empty trailer and told me to practice backing with that for the rest of the night. Then next day I came back, I did a much better job. I was backing those trailers up without any problems. I simply needed a little bit more practice and I was able to do it perfectly. However, even though I thought things were going to turn out well after that, things started taking a turn for the worse. And I'll explain that in better detail in a little bit. Okay, yard truck drivers, if you're watching this video, this is a stop sign. And this is a 15 mile per hour speed limit sign. The reason I feel I had to explain this to you is because I was the only driver in that company that was following these two signs when I was a yard truck driver. All the other yard truck drivers were blowing past these stop signs at 40 miles per hour, even though the speed limit for the yard is only 15 miles per hour. Now, I didn't want to be the troublemaker kind of coworker that's always bringing to attention every single wrong thing that a coworker does and telling the boss every time someone does something. So I let some of these things slide. However, it got to a point where I had to bring these things up because I was being accused of doing the exact same thing these people were doing. Allow me to explain. That same night, the second night I started working at this company, I was sent to the office. And the manager told me that he had gotten calls from the other drivers that I was running the stop signs. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm the only one that stops at the stop signs, and they're telling me that I ran the stop signs. You know, I feel like these people are, for whatever reason, trying to get rid of me. Like, maybe they're mad at me because I slow them down since I'm the only one that stops at the stop signs and follows the speed limits. So they're trying to accuse me of doing unsafe things while behind the wheel of that vehicle so that they can get me sent home and they can get back to work and continue to drive dangerously fast at 40 miles per hour, let me remind you. So yeah, that's probably what their aim was. They were trying to get me fired at any means necessary, even if it required lying about my behavior while behind the wheel. And the manager said to me, okay, when you're out in the yard, you have to be safe, safe, and safe. And I'm thinking to myself, are you kidding me? I'm the safest one out there. I'm the only one that observes the speed limit sign and stops at the stop sign. You're telling me I'm the one that has to be safe? And that's not the only unsafe thing the other drivers have done. I have seen drivers drive behind me while I'm trying to back a trailer into a dock, but more on that later. That same night, I was backing a trailer into a dock, and while I did so, someone whooshed by me at 40 miles per hour from behind me, causing me to have to stop what I was doing to avoid hitting them. After I finished backing up the trailer, he pulled up in front of me and said, "You know you almost hit me, right?" And I'm like, are you kidding me? So I detach from the trailer and I pick up my next trailer, and another driver drives up to me and says, "You know you almost hit that guy when you were backing up, right? I'm gonna have to call the boss about this." And I'm like, screw you! These people at this point are getting on my nerves, and at this point, I honestly would not mind if they got into a horrible accident, because they were really getting on my nerves. I mean, what kind of person goes out of their way to sabotage someone else's career, even though that person is doing everything they can to operate safely? Whenever I backed up, I always stopped for a few seconds so that if there was someone trying to sneak past me from behind, I gave them plenty of time to get past me, then I would start to back up. Once they saw me backing up, though, you would think that a truck driver would be smart enough not to try and go past me, because I was taught when I was trained how to drive a truck that whenever you see someone backing up, don't try to get between them and whatever they're backing up to, because they might hit you. And you would think that that would be obvious and common knowledge, but these people are so dense in the head that they see a guy backing up, and then they're like, oh, maybe that's a good time to go past them. And then they get mad at you for almost hitting them. And then they're like, oh, I gotta call the boss about this. You almost hit me. These people are so stupid. So anyway, I get sent to the office again, the second time that night. And he's like, I've been getting complaints that you almost hit someone. And I'm like, I'm speechless at this time because I don't even know what to say. Like, all I know is that I'm driving safely and these people are driving like maniacs, and they get mad at me when they almost get into an accident. So he says again, you have to be safe, safe, and safe when you're in the yard. That night, I turned on my car, getting ready to drive home at the end of my shift, and I'm thinking to myself, these people are trying to sabotage me. These people are not happy until I lose my job. They want to make me even less employable than I already am due to the 3 incidents that are on my record. They won't be satisfied until there are even more incidents on my record, making it even harder for me to find a job as a truck driver. I gotta leave this job. I'm thinking to myself, because if I stay at this job, my career as a truck driver is probably in jeopardy. But it gets even worse after this. Stay tuned. Okay, it's day 3 since I started this job, and I'm already regretting applying for this job in the first place. I'm thinking to myself, okay, 2 things to avoid as a truck driver. 1, driving for Family Dollar, and 2, being a yard truck driver. But as horrible as that last day was, the 3rd day gets even worse. Because this time I get accused of hitting another trailer while backing up. More on that later. It was day 3 of employment at this place. I got the 2nd trailer of that day and I backed it up at a dock. And do you know what I hear? You know you hit the trailer next to you? This came from someone who was working in the dock at the time. He claims that I hit the trailer that was next to me while backing up. But that's physically impossible because of the way the trailer was angled when I was backing up. The trailer was very close to the trailer that was on my driver's side. And I know from experience backing up trailers that if the trailer is very close on your driver's side to the trailer that's next to you, then on the passenger side, it's very far away because there is some distance between each dock. So I knew that if I kept the trailer very close on my driver's side, it was very far on my passenger side, and I would not hit it while trying to straighten it out. And then I would just pull up forward, back it right into the dock. It works every time, so there's no way that this one time it would just randomly fail. I know that my method for backing up trailers at docks is absolute because I have never had any issue backing a trailer at a dock before, and it was one of the reasons why when I worked for Warner Enterprises, I asked them to take me off the Family Dollar account and put me on the 48 States account because I knew that the majority of what I'd be carrying would be going to docks, and I knew that I had a very good skill at backing up at docks. So I knew that in this situation, there's no way I would hit the trailer next to me. But despite all the doubt that I had hit the trailer next to me, I still got out and checked the trailer anyway. But I didn't see any damage on the trailer that was next to me, and I didn't see any damage on the trailer I was carrying. He claims that I hit the trailer on my passenger side, but that was impossible because there was too much distance between the trailer on my passenger side and the trailer I was carrying for me to have hit it. Not only that, but when I back up in a truck, I always have both windows open so that I could hear if something were to go wrong. Now, this truck, the only two things you can open are the driver's side window and the door on the rear of the truck. So I opened both of those while backing up. Don't tell me you think that if I had hit the trailer next to me, I wouldn't have heard something with both those windows open. The window and the door. There's no way that I could have hit the trailer and not know about it. I would have felt something too, because there would have been a jolt if I had hit something. I mean, you can tell if you hit something in a truck. That's part of the reason you know when you're far enough back when backing up at a dock, because when you hit the dock plate, you actually feel it. So, these people expect me to believe that I hit a trailer, I had both windows open and didn't hear it. I was sitting in the driver's seat at the time and didn't feel it. Just let that sink in for a while. So, they call my manager to my location, and he kicks me off the truck and says, "You hit that trailer. We can't have any of that here." So he sends me to work in the warehouse. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I signed up for this job because I needed more experience behind the wheel of the truck, so that when these 3 incidents got off my record, I would be considered more hireable, and it would be easier for me to get back into the industry. I did not sign up for this job so that I could be working at some freaking warehouse. Not only that, but this warehouse was really cold. Now, let me explain myself. I worked at a lot of cold warehouses before, and that's usually not a problem as long as I dress up for it. However, I was not prepared to work in a cold warehouse with no heating in it when I clocked in this morning because I thought I'd be driving a truck. I dressed up for driving a truck. And you don't really have to dress up that much when driving a truck because the trucks have heating in them. And sure, you have to get outside of the truck to attach the trailers, but you don't have to be outside for long enough for you to realize how cold it is outside. So I was not properly dressed to work in a warehouse at sub-zero temperatures with no heating in it. And my coworkers wondering why I'm complaining how cold it is in the warehouse. They're like, "Why don't you just dress up for it?" And I'm like, "Excuse me? I didn't know I'd be working in the warehouse when I clocked in this morning. I thought I'd be driving a truck. Don't expect me to be like, oh, maybe I'll be working in the warehouse today, so maybe I should dress up today." That was not expected to me. That was not expected because I was supposed to be a truck driver. I did not apply for a job as a warehouse associate. I applied for a job as a truck driver. And I was furious when they kicked me off this truck. The whole time I'm sorting those packages in that warehouse, I'm thinking, where do I find the person that did this to me? I'll punch him in his freaking face. sending me to work in a warehouse because he claims that I hit a trailer. Like, how in the world can someone justify sabotaging someone's career like that? But I thought to myself, you know what? I need a dash cam, because if this is going to continue and people are going to continue to accuse me of things I didn't do, I'm going to need a dash cam to prove that I didn't do it. See, truck drivers have dash cams because a lot of times people try to drive in front of the truck and then slam on their brakes. This is insurance fraud. They're doing this just to get money. But you can't prove that without a dash cam. All it looks like to the cop is that you hit the car in front of you. So they get dash cams to prove that they're innocent, obviously. Now, I've never seen a yard truck driver with the dash cam, so the thought never occurred to me that I'd need one. But seeing what has happened in these 3 days at this job, it was clear to me at this point that I needed a dash cam, or I was going to be working at this warehouse for the entire rest of the year until the 3 incidents got off my record. And I would have hardly anything to show for it. No new experience, no recent experience behind the wheel of a truck, and it would make it very difficult for companies to consider hiring me. So that night I went home, went to Amazon.com, I bought a dash cam and a portable charger so I could have something to plug the dash cam into, obviously, because the trucks did not have a cigarette lighter. I needed a portable power supply. So I bought these things, thinking, okay, it should be fine now. Just one problem. I ordered 2-day shipping, so I had to wait 2 days for it to show up, but I couldn't simply take 2 days off of work. So I showed up for work the next day with absolutely no dash cam, and I used my camera instead. And that's where the footage I'm about to show you comes in. And the dent up there, and over there as well. That's okay, that's fine. The side is mostly undamaged. Okay, the ramp is up. Okay, the other side. The scratch over there, as you can see. And there's some scratches over here as well. This is trailer 663267. Okay, on this trailer that I am about to back next to, there is already some scratches on the paint over here, as you can see. There's scratches here, 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 and up there. There's some marks over here, scratches over here and over there. Now on to the adjacent trailer. Scratches up here. Some scratches up here. Scratches up there. And a dent over here. I'm about to unhitch the trailer 663267. As you can see, there is no damage to the trailer. That is additional to what was already on it. The trailer next to it is also undamaged. There's a little dent over there, but that was already on the trailer, as you saw from the previous video. This also was already on the trailer when I backed up. Back of the trailer is fine. No damage to the trailer adjacent to it. There's some dents here, but these were already on the trailer prior to backing. And that up there as well. This was also already on the trailer. And this also was already on the trailer. Now, they sent me back into the warehouse after that because they realized that they made a mistake and I was supposed to be quote-unquote on punishment for something I didn't do, mind you, but they still were convinced that I did it. And I ended up working in that warehouse for the entire rest of that week. The next week I came back, I said, okay, enough is enough. I need to be driving a truck. I need to know how long you expect to keep me out of the truck. So they told me, well, that's one of the higher ups decisions. It's not our decision to make. And I'm like, story of my life. So I say, is there anyone I can talk to about this? They send me to another office on the other side of the warehouse. So I go to this office and I'm like, how long do you expect me to be out of the truck? And then he says, well, I have to talk with someone and see where we're going to put you. And I'm like, okay, first of all, they know what they have to do to get me back in the truck. Why are they taking their sweet time in doing it? If he has to talk to someone to discuss what they're going to do next, why don't he just hurry up and talk to that person and discuss it with them instead of wasting my time? But I didn't say that. I just calmly said, okay, and left. So I came back to the office, and they were like, well, what did he say? I said, well, he didn't give me a satisfactory answer. And they said, well, what did he say to you? I said, he just said he had to talk to someone and discuss what they were going to do. And he said, well, there's nothing I can do about that. And then they said, you're welcome to work in the warehouse if you want. And I said, oh, you're giving me a choice? And then they said, well, if you leave, we're obviously not going to pay you. And I said, well, let me explain to you something. Honestly speaking, I applied for a job as a truck driver. I expected to be driving a truck when I accepted this job. And then she decided to mock my voice and said, okay, well, let's be honest. You hit a trailer. And I'm like, I did not. At this point, I pretty much lost my temper. I said, let me be clear with you. I did not hit that trailer. I don't know how many times I have to keep repeating myself, but I didn't hit that freaking trailer. I don't know what that guy saw, but he did not see me hitting that trailer. And the sooner you realize that, the better. Now, you're welcome to let me drive the truck if you want to, but you don't plan on putting me back in the truck, then I have no business being here because you're wasting my time as a truck driver. So she said, well, if you want to leave, there's the door right there. And I said, okay, well, good day to you. And needless to say, that was the last day I worked at that place. I will not be applying for jobs as yard truck driver ever again. That was just too terrible of an experience. Everywhere I turned, I was being accused of doing things I didn't do, and they always took the other person's side just because they worked there longer than I have. They always took the other person's side over mine, and no matter how many times I told them I didn't do the things I said I did, they just did not believe me. If I ever do accept a job as a yard truck driver, I'll be sure to make sure I have a dash cam ready before I even get inside that cab. So that next time I get accused of running a stop sign or going over the speed limit, I can show them the dash cam and show them proof that I actually did not run the stop sign or go over the speed limit. Or even that thing about almost hitting a driver. The very idea of hitting a driver or even coming close to hitting another driver in a parking lot, it just baffles me. There's no way I would ever do that. I would know if there was another truck right in front of me, obviously. Trucks are really difficult to miss. But whatever, I guess. Just not going to apply to that place again. Not going to work for that place again. Not going to drive yard trucks ever again because that was just a terrible experience and I don't want to go through it again.